Well, boys, it is back upon us. It is time to start getting ready, or getting close to time. July's coming up to start getting ready to kill these suckers again. This is what I'm excited about. I don't care about the fishing. I don't care about the dove hunting. It's fun and all, but nothing does it to me like the whitetails do. And we're closing in on the time of year that we need to start getting ready to do those things. And I'm going to talk today about what you should do to have better success during deer season and what you need to start doing right now to have that success. First off, you need to start running trail cameras. You need to start figuring out where the big bucks are. They're not going to be in the same spot as they are now, as they are in October, but you need, or, whenever your deer season starts, September. Mine usually starts middle of October here in Alabama or Florida. But you need to start getting ready now. You need to find, if you want to kill a big buck, you need to find him now, and you need to start paying attention to what he's doing and figure out some different locations that he's at. Or if you can't find different locations, just figure out where his home is, because that's the majority of the time where you're going to kill him, unless it's in the rut, is closer to his house, where he's staying the majority of the time. Because a big buck, studies show that a lot of times big bucks are staying in a smaller parcel of woods. It varies. There's some bigger bucks that venture out, but for the majority of it that I found personally, big bucks are staying, not a huge piece of land. They got their place. They've been safe to get that old, and that's where they're going to stay. And you're usually going to kill them on the outskirts of that. You don't want to push too far deep in and really mess them up. But you want to go in there. You need to get a trail camera that has good battery life, and you just leave it. You need to find him and leave it, and kind of start patterning what he's doing, because that's going to give you a lot of information going into the season. Second off, if you're allowed to feed where you're at, you probably need to start feeding in a month and a half. So you may have a mineral lookout right now, and that'd be a good thing to figure out where some bucks are, but you're not really going to hone in on their home range with that. But if you can go ahead and start feeding now, protein, whatever you got to feed, maybe not necessarily to make them bigger, but, it always helps a little bit. So starting feeding is what you're going to do, is you're going to start getting that buck kind of used to that. Like I said, my personal experience, what I've had success with, is you're getting that buck used to that area, coming to feed at that area, and he feels safe, he feels safe, he feels safe, he feels safe. And a lot of times I've had a ton of success on bucks coming to that feed station or trough or whatever you got early in the season still. Or you're catching them coming to it right before dark. And that's the best time of year, in my opinion, to kill a big buck or a mature buck, is early in the season or late in the season at rut. Everybody knows that. But that first week of bow season, I feel like a lot of people miss that. That is one of the best times to shoot a big buck, because nobody's been hunting them. Nobody's been pressuring them. And so if you're looking to shoot a good one this year, or, maybe your first good one, that is probably the best way to do it. During the rut, it's still kind of hard because they're always running around chasing, but with a gun, you have a pretty good opportunity. But if you want to shoot a big one with a bow, that first week or first couple of days of bow season, you need to be in a tree where that buck's been at, because 9 times out of 10, he's going to be there one of those 7 days. And third thing I would say is, a lot of people don't do this, but you need to start practicing. You need to start practicing now to get ready for the season, to make that shot. Because, when you get a deer of this caliber standing, and this may not be huge to some people, but to me, this is the biggest buck I've ever shot. And if I wouldn't have been, I'd been shooting 4 or 5 months before I shot that deer. And in that moment, I was so confident, which I hadn't been before in my bow, in my shooting capability of my bow, like I was that year. And last year I did not miss a deer last year. And I'm going to miss again at some point in my life. I know I will. And I'm going to miss a big buck again. But last year, because of the repetition that I made and everything, I made every shot that I took. And I was taking smart shots. That's another thing. You need to start deciphering what shots you're going to take and what shots you're not going to take if you want to do this seriously. And so practicing now is going to give you, and don't stop practicing when the season starts. Practicing now is going to give you greater success when the season starts. And I'm tried and true of that, because prior years to last year, I probably kind of slacked off, maybe started 2.5, 3 weeks before, which a lot of people do. I'm not downing you for it. I was that guy too. But I had a lot more success last year and confidence and knowing that I could make those shots because of the practice that I put in. And fourth thing is, man, you just got to put the time in. Some people don't have the time, that's okay. But if you want to put the time in, if you want to kill a big deer, you have got to start putting the time in. because I mean that's the biggest thing on killing one is I mean really just figuring them out. Sometimes it's luck. Like I said, this one was luck. I mean, sometimes you're going to get lucky, but 7 out of 10 times you're probably not going to get lucky. It's probably going to be on a big deer that you've been chasing for a while, and you've kind of figured him out. You're like, okay, he's going to be here on this day. Then I know that can be hard in the South, patterning a deer because I fought it, but some other locations in the country, it's not as difficult to do, just for the sole fact that may not be as much pressure. There may be less woods than we have down here because in Alabama, I mean, there's just woods after woods after it's just pine thickets everywhere. I mean, they could be anywhere. And so out here, I'd say it's harder to pattern a deer than it is up north. And I may be wrong. I haven't hunted up north much, but just from what people said, the deer up north have a little bit different tendencies than they would down here. They're more sporadic down here, and up there they kind of find a place that they're safe and just kind of keep rolling with that until somebody sticks an arrow in them and messes it all up. Which you can't educate a buck. Like I said, I'm not saying that it's harder to hunt up north than it is down south. I'm not going to be that guy that says, "Oh, southern hunters are better than northern hunters." It's all the same. If you're a good hunter, you're a good hunter, no matter where you're at in the country. And another thing that I would say to start prepping is work on, like, if you're hunting out of a saddle, like I do a lot of times, mobile hunters, climber, saddle. Another thing last year that got a lot of success, work on in your backyard, go find a tree, work on putting that stand up efficiently and quietly. Getting in and getting out in a stealthy manner. You're not always going to get in undetected, but when you can, that is going to greatly increase your odds to killing a big buck during the year. I mean, greatly. The quieter you can get in, the smarter you can play it out, the less you can educate him, noises, smell, whatever it be. You need to do that. Whatever can benefit you, whatever you're going to add to your setup that, no, maybe I need a little piece of tape here, or Velcro, or what do they call that stuff? You put on the legs, you wrap it up. Silent tape. That's what I'm going to call it. Silent tape. That stuff is a game changer in being quiet because, if you're climbing a tree or something, everything's always smacking together and it keeps that ping out of there. And, it's not always going to work, but anything that can help you to better you putting your stand up, getting you quieter, and just making you more efficient at putting it up. And if you're hunting out of a lock on, you really ain't got to worry about that. But if you're like me, you hunt out of a saddle, hunt out of a climber a lot because you like to be mobile, make sure you're comfortable in your setup because you don't want to get in the woods and be second guessing yourself all the time on this. Go up there and shoot. Man, go up there and, pick out targets in your backyard to shoot at. Shoot over your shoulder. I killed this deer back here. I killed him like this last year. And that was something I practiced. And like I said, that helped me out a lot during the season. So anything that is going to help you be a better hunter, better shot, more efficient at putting your stand up, if you want to be real serious about killing big bucks, that's one thing you definitely need to work on because it helped me a lot. I had a lot more success shooting big deer last year. I shot two of the biggest deer I'd ever shot, and this one was the biggest. And I hold it to those being smart, knowing what they're doing, early season bow hunting, and hunting during the rut as well. Like I said, it's harder to kill one during the rut, but it happened for me last year. With a bow, it's harder to kill one during gun season. It's a little different. You want to kill a big buck during the rut, you increase your odds highly. Getting up high in a tree, being able to see it long ways, and breaking out the old smoke pole. Breaking the frost off. So those are probably the top things for me personally that you need to start doing to increase your odds on killing a big deer this year. And that's my opinion and why you should start now rather than later. That's with anything in life. Start now, don't start later. If you want to start killing a big deer, you need to start today. You may not kill one today, but in 3 months when it's time to kill a big deer, you'll be ready. So that's my 10 cents, and I hope y'all enjoyed it.